All right, guys, I'm not one of those dandies that calls his dog his baby, but I got something going on here. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Come on,
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Trozian, and this is RamView, the June 13th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. Guys, I'm not one of these guys. I am not a dandy. I'm not one of these dudes. I like dogs, but I don't know what it is. Something's freaking them out. I don't know what it is. And the dog ran in my lap. I was thinking maybe we're going to have an earthquake or something. Yeah, I'm getting an echo because everything's jacked up in here. I think my air conditioner is on. Let's see here. Let me try to fix this a little bit. Does this help? Is this helping any guys? Let me know. So unprofessional, so preposterous, and I prepared for this show. Let me know, Bill. How's it sound? So it's not better. It's not better. Oh my goodness. I don't know what to do here. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Let me go off the air and I'm going to come right back. Okay. Let's see. Steve Ramirez, sounds okay to you? Maybe it's coming from Bill's end. Okay. Anyway, forgive me for this. This is ridiculous. Let's talk real quick. I'll get through this show. You guys can unsubscribe me if you want. I'm embarrassed. The release of Derion Kendrick provokes two thoughts. Before we talk about Alaric Jackson, the release of Kendrick provokes two thoughts, and I know, Bill, you nailed it there on one. First, he saw the room, figured his chances of competing and playing were something similar to Tre'Davious Hodges-Tomlinson, and maybe he wanted out. Maybe, right? Second, maybe more likely is there's a move pending for another CB. You tell me who that CB can be, but the move saves almost 3.5 rocks, 3.4 rocks. So is there a name out there that you think might be the Rams might be interested in? It's kind of interesting here that they make this room. That's a significant chunk of change. But also on the flip side too, you're talking about a room that has Ahkello Witherspoon, Kobe Durant, Darius Williams, and Emmanuel Forbes, who is the Hanson's Mbappe, right? He's just like skyrocketing right now in terms of everyone thinking about him. And then you've got Josh Wallace, who played last year. You still got Charles Woods, Sean Jolly, and Cam Lampkin and AJ Green. And of course, you get rid of Derion Kendrick. And now, this again, it does spark me more on Jalen Ramsey. And I'm thinking if the Rams are willing to eat more of his salary, then I'm good with that because I really don't even want to give a 5th rounder for him. I really don't. I know we probably will, but give up some more dough, make the appropriate move. I like Derion Kendrick. I thought he got a raw deal a little bit sometimes the way people talked about him, but he was aggressive and he had talent. So we'll see how his career plays out. Thank you, dog, for going out of camera. And now you're back in. Okay. Let's see. Oh, by the way, RamsWire published a nice story on Emmanuel Forbes today. Welcome to the party, pal. And I don't know about this, but I was looking at my links today. I didn't click on it, but Bleacher Report is talking about the Rams not having a great secondary. I'm not saying it's a great secondary. I'm saying it's a competent secondary. And so I was kind of wondering why they're talking about this being a weakness. I thought it was kind of interesting. Alaric Jackson, okay, via Ian Rappaport a couple hours ago. He's dealing with blood clot issues again. This is the same thing he dealt with in the disaster of 2022. My first thought was note to the Rams, especially if this flares into something huge, but note to the Rams, get out of the business of extending in-house guys at tackle, right? I don't think any of us had a problem when they extended Joe Noteboom. I think, he had Witt's approval. He played great in the playoffs for the Rams. And so we were all good with that. And then we saw the outcome. And Jackson puts together 2 really solid years, is worth the contract they gave him. And now the blood clot issue comes up again. They say he's playing. That's great. Gives you a little more insight to the DJ Humphrey signing. But regardless, the DJ Humphrey signing was a great signing. Whether he plays or not, he's great insurance, and that's what this team needed. Roughly right now, 89 players are on this Rams roster. Means about 21 of them are going to go bye-bye because you'll have 53 active and about 16 on the practice squad. And it got me thinking about where we were a year ago. And I was looking at this list here. These were players that were on the Rams roster a year ago today. D-Rob, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Johnson. You remember J.J. Lapp? He was a practice squad guy. Joe Noteboom. Zach Thomas, who played in that Bengal game back in 2023. Jonah Jackson. Mike McAllister, the undrafted free agent who was on the practice squad out of Youngstown State. Grant Miller. Logan Bruss. Hunter Long. Dresser Wynn, which is really interesting because the Rams still haven't signed an extra arm. Zach Evans, remember him? He was going to be a steal of the draft. Bobby Brown, Michael Hoyt, Ochoan Mathis. Remember Zach Van Valkenburg? I mean, that guy had a motor. He was kind of like the poor man's Michael Hoyt. Rams released him, and he hasn't found himself on an NFL roster since. Christian Roseboom, Jake Hummel, Ernest Jones, Cam McCutcheon, and the perennial spring-summer kicker for the Rams, Tanner Brown, who I'm surprised they haven't re-signed him, because they need another leg. So Josh Carty's not doing all the kicking during the summer. Basically, it adds up to about 25 guys, and it's just so interesting how fast they come and they go, right? How fast they come and they go. I got a great sound clip for that, but I'm not going to push it right now. I'm not big on the Vamos Rams interviews they do. That pops up on the Rams website. But I do enjoy once in a while who they had in there. They had Josiah Stewart on there. I don't want it to happen, but he's a great interview. Michigan guy, high character guy, talented guy, high motor guy. And looking at him, he could be the reason Byron Young gets traded before his second contract comes due. Now, we'll still have to see how it plays out. But Young, who is 27 now, will be about 29 when he plays out his rookie contract. Now, he's got 17 sacks in 2 seasons. I don't want Byron Young going anywhere. What I want from Byron Young is a little more wrapping up, a little bit better job holding the edge. But Byron Young's been a great third-round choice for the Rams. He's done a great job. Problem is, his second contract comes around, he's 29. Josiah Stewart just turned 22. And if he develops into what, his pedigree, that pedigree, I would say, is a Michigan man, played for Harbaugh, and you see him, as he shares, total Ram type of player, he could be the reason Byron Young doesn't get a second contract. Either plays out his option if the Rams don't deal him, or gets traded maybe after this season. I like Byron Young. I like Byron Young a lot. But it is what it is, right? They come and they go.
They come and they go, Hobbs. They come and they go.
They come and they go. All right, I'm Joe Tarosian. I'm not a dandy, even though I got this ridiculous dog in my lap. I'm being nice to the dog because life is better for me if my wife is happy and my girls are happy regarding this dog. I can't understand it. It's a little embarrassing, but I'm not one of those guys. I'm not one of those guys. I won't even walk this dog. There you go. All right, Wildman Samurai, Alaric Jackson out with blood clots is a big problem for our O-line. Sounds like we're a little bit ahead of it. They're saying as of right now he's still playing, but yeah, it's what it is, right? Bill, sounds okay now. What breed is your dog? He's a Schnauzer? Is it a Schnauzer or whatever it is? It's a good dog. But when my wife and my daughters brought the dog in, I've been married 34 years. This Sunday is my 34th wedding anniversary. And we've never had a pet because I got enough ministries already, right? I've always been bivocational as a pastor, and I'm not walking a dog. I'm not picking up after a dog. But all of a sudden, this dog jumped in my lap and started making me think, is there an earthquake coming? Anyway, thanks, Bill. I'm glad the sound cleared up. Steve Ramirez, could the Rams re-sign Bryce Perkins to compete for third-string quarterback, or is that bridge burned? You know, I was surprised after investing 2 years in Bryce Perkins how quick the Rams moved off of him. He had one start. That was in Kansas City, and he was hardly Nathan Peterman, right? He was hardly, John Wolford after that brief run in 2020. And so my feeling is I like Bryce Perkins. I would give him a shot, and you need another arm, right? How many times have they brought back Louis Perez, from a different league, right? Bring him back, but I don't know if the bridge is burned. I don't know. He got the one start. I was frustrated when the Rams signed Baker Mayfield because I said, finish the year with Bryce Perkins. Let's find out. And because at that time, we didn't know at the end of 2022 how serious the injuries were to Matthew Stafford. So it's like, hey, find out what you got. We knew what we had in Wolford. And in hindsight, I loved watching Baker Mayfield play, and I became a Baker Mayfield fan, happy for his career, happy that Bryce Perkins has kept going. Let's see here. USA Expat, hey, Pastor Joe, let me hear your Forbes take now. I know. I'm going to try to be humble on this one. I'm just going to try, right? I'm counting on you guys in faraway places and on other sites saying, the dude on RamView had this thing 6 months ago, welcome to the party, pal, right? But yeah, I guess, if we're as good as we think we are, we'll figure out another one of these things. Maybe the Byron Young thing. Let's see. USA Expat offensive tackle will be a major draft target next year, even more so now. Yeah, depending on how this plays out, it really will be. It's going to be interesting. I'm not loath to give him credit, Colin Cowherd, but Colin Cowherd made a great point, and he said, why are you building for the future when your future is now? He kind of put it that way a couple months ago, and he's right. If the Rams got 2 number 1 picks and Matthew Stafford shows no sign of age, right? No sign of age. Maybe you can fit another elite lineman in front of him. Maybe you give him another elite weapon and you just double down if he's not showing any age, right? And play this sucker out for as long as you can play it out. Tim Burns, Antonio Brown, true meltdown. Yeah, things haven't gone right for that guy since he walked off the field for Tampa, right? Tim Burns attacked Terrier. I'm going to attack this stupid dog right now. Does the dog dance? No, the dog's not even welcome in the RamCave right now, guys. The dog's not even welcome in the RamCave. Tim Burns, you see the guy in shorts tackle the protester who hit the cop? I think they would have flagged that civilian for that tackle. He left his feet, right? He launched. I think he would have been flagged. USA Expat saw it, and Manny Correa has come on in. Oh, guys, I'm embarrassed. NFC West update, 49ers. Just a reminder, Robert Saleh is back at defensive coordinator, and Clay Kubiak, not to be confused with Clint Kubiak, his brother. Clay is the OC in Frisco, and Clint is the OC up in the Emerald City for the Seahawks. But Shanahan is speaking well of Brandon Ayuk, saying his recovery is going well. But it's still Brandon Ayuk, right? And it was still a pretty serious knee injury. Ricky Pearsall's nursing his hamstring. You can't fault him for being shot last year, but this is just another thing. And the team has admitted it's undecided about left guard, where Brett Barch is projected, and he's going to be playing at the elbow of Trent Williams. That position is not locked down. Just wanted to throw that out there for the 49ers. I shared yesterday, out of 15 players that are not participating in the mandatory minicamp, 8 of them are projected as starters/contributors. Cardinals, their DC again is Nick Rallis. Their OC is Drew Petzing. Jonathan Gannon, the former DC with the Eagles, has a lot of say there. it was interesting to see, looking up at some of the Cardinal stuff, that, injuries were the cause why Will Johnson fell into the second round, the Michigan corner. Remember, he was considered a top 10, inside the top 10 pick, and he fell all the way to number 47 in the draft because of injury concerns. So that's a good pickup for the Cardinals at 47, but it was reported today that he's still suffering from a tight hammy that he injured in a pre-draft workout. And my belief is the Cardinals, man, this guy's talented. You might just want to shut him down, man, until the end of August, right? You know he can play. Again, I sound like I'm a honk here. Another Michigan man, but something to think about. Seahawks, you got Aiden Durde as the DC, but Mike McDonald has a lot of say there, like Gannon does. That's interesting, right? For the Seahawks and Cardinals, you got two HCs that have history as DCs. And, of course, Clint Kubiak is the OC that we mentioned. And I wanted to look at this because I have to back up something I shared. Oh, my goodness, I think my wife is home. The defensive front is productive for the Seahawks. It's a really good defensive front. Jarran Reed, Leonard Williams, and Byron Murphy. But here's the thing about Jarran Reed. He's still playing well. They brought him back, but he turns 33 this December. He was a second-round pick back in 2016. Leonard Williams was a first-round pick back in 2015. I think it was with the Jets. Then he went to the Giants. Then he went to Seattle, and they've upped him. Great player. Had a really good year last year. He turns 31 next week. And then, of course, the next Aaron Donald, as he was being kind of speculated about, I think a lot of Ram fans were thinking it was Byron Murphy, right, who went 16th overall to the Seahawks in the 2024 draft. People were saying, hey, this is the guy the Rams should go after. I might have even used him in a mock draft, but he only played 457 snaps last year, and he wasn't great, right? If he's what he's supposed to be, and the bookends, the old guy bookends hold up, this will be a really good defensive front for the Seahawks. But if Byron Murphy doesn't take a step and the old guys turn old, it's going to cause a lot of problems because the bread and butter for the Seahawks right now is not going to be Sam Darnold, and it's not going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba and their wide receiver core and their running backs because their offensive line is suspect. It's going to be their defense. And I know people think, and this is all leading to this point, I know people think I spend too much time on age, right? Hey, man, this guy's getting older. I know Steeler fan Rob thinks that, and that's okay. But this is a 17-game season, not a 16-game season. It's a 17-game season. And guys in the trenches are not like 37-year-old quarterbacks who may get hit on every play or every other play or every couple of plays and who are protected. No, these are offensive linemen, defensive linemen who are in the trenches going head-on in a train wreck on every play. And for teams like the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Cardinals, the margin is razor thin in terms of holding up and getting to the playoffs. Rams are deeper, Rams are younger, so it's not the Rams' issue right now. There will be multiple teams, probably two, out of the NFC East, right? You've got Texans and Eagles, right? They're going to make the playoffs. Multiple teams out of the NFC North, if you're being conservative. Lions and either the Bears, the Packers, or the Vikings. There's going to be two teams out of the North. That's 4 for 7 playoff spots. Rams take the other spot. That's 5. Bucks take the 6th. Okay? That last wild card spot, whoever is left over in the NFC North, the Falcons, and these two teams, the Seahawks and Cardinals especially, that last wild card spot is going to be a dogfight. So you're going to be playing. I fully expect these teams to be playing hard and not getting that week 18, which is game 17 week off. They're going to need that win. And given the way the Rams have been playing the last few years, they could be needing that win as well, but they're younger. And so just something to think about. And that's why I hit on that quite a bit. All right. I feel so much more like myself right now. All right. Let's see. Bill, Joey Bosa is demanding a trade from the Winers. Nick Bosa? It's Nick, right? Is Nick Bosa demanding a trade? Bill, help me out. Help me out with that one. Let's see. Tim Burns, Antonio Brown went crazy, locked in Steeler fan Rob's basement all those seasons. Oh, you're taking shots. USA expat. If Humphreys turns out solid this year, one more Ram headbutt to the 49ers. There you go. Yeah, because he was supposed to sign with the Niners, right? Everyone had him already projected to the Niners. I'm just, you know, if Jackson can stay healthy, and this isn't soft tissue injury, this isn't a hammy, this isn't a protracted, you know, what was that, scapula injury that I think Jonah Jackson had. This is blood clots. You know, you don't jack around with blood clots, right? You don't want some embolism somewhere. But if this can all work out with DJ Humphreys as your backup, Rams will be golden. That'll make us feel as good as we've felt in years about the offensive line. Tim Burns, blasphemy. The Falcons shall be 2-15, so saith Tim. Hey, I hope it happens. I want it to happen, but, you know, I'm just trying to function in the land of the living. Please, somebody check Bill. Somebody check about Bosa in Frisco demanding a trade. I really want to find out about that. Let's go to, I'm Joe Jarosian, sports writer, 21 years. I got a stupid dog that jumped in my lap because I think he thought there was going to be an earthquake or something. I don't know, but that happens once in 3 years. Okay. And I want to say thank you to Kistler Law, our sponsors, for supporting us and letting us do this show. Grateful to them. We don't have a Patreon account. We don't have a paywall because we have a sponsor. And so we're really grateful for that. I support myself, help support my job. My day job is I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Naz. And you can follow us here on Burbank Faith on YouTube channel, Burbank Faith Virtual, BurbankFaithVirtual.com, and Burbank Faith Virtual across social media. I do broadcast a devotional 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, as well as I broadcast on YouTube on Sunday morning around 8:30, 9 o'clock, roughly approximately on Facebook, and then, of course, in person at Burbank Faith Brick and Mortar. But we say thank you to our sponsors. They support us, and you guys support us as well by buying my books. The one that's not here, I got to order more copies of, is Game Day in the RamCave, fictional account of an NFC championship game between the Rams and the Packers. You got to buy it, guys. You got to buy it. Tim Burns gave me a great review. Buy the book. I need to buy a new pair of shoes. I'm also going on vacation in August, and I need some dough. All right, there we go. Check us out on Spotify as well as iHeart for our podcast. I got up yesterday's show early. Today's show will be loaded up tomorrow morning. Okay, around the NFL and other places, Anthony Richardson, the Florida quarterback who was a bit of a reach for the Colts a couple years ago, who's got a lot of talent, just no experience. His shoulder is still in question, and he's seeing specialists. Daniel Jones just got this big and, you know, thumbs up from Shane Steichen, not named the starting quarterback, but hello, Daniel Jones. He'll likely be the starting quarterback in Indy. And that's, again, you know, no one thinks about it, but the thing that's held the Colts back for a couple years has been their quarterback spot. Colts come to SoFi September 28th. That's week 4 to face the Rams. Let's hope they don't figure anything out before then. Talking about other stuff, we got the NBA Finals that's going to be going on right now. No updates, please. I'm recording. I'm not going to see this game until later tonight. I'm going out to dinner with my wife, doing an early 34th anniversary dinner. But can someone let Colin Cowherd know that Magic Johnson made the NBA's all-defensive team his first 2 seasons in the league? And if you saw Magic Johnson play, you know he was not Michael Cooper defensively, but he was hardly Kiki Vandeweghe, and he wasn't the liability Cowherd continues to make him out to be just to fit some ridiculous narrative. It really makes him look sus and stupid when he talks about Magic Johnson not playing defense. Was he a shutdown guy? No. But Magic Johnson played defense, right? How do I know? Because I saw him play. So back it off there. Rooting for the Pacers tonight. Even so, as I've been rooting for the Pacers, I can't shake that OKC was going to win this series. First, I said they were going to win it in 5. And after Indy won the other night, I said, okay, OKC's going to win it in 6. I'll just say right now, if the Pacers win tonight, I'll just say the Pacers are going to win the series. Happy ABA team. I love watching Tyler Halliburton. I like SGA, but the Pacers are deeper. They're playing good basketball, and they're getting clicks out of everybody. They go deep and they run. I wasn't sure. I thought it was 3 or 4, but one of the reports I saw said they're running 7 guys at SGA, and that dude is dog tired by the time the 4th comes around. So really fascinating. Really enjoyed the series. I like both teams. I actually feel like I'm watching some basketball. Believe it or not, Mr. Burns, I actually had a note here about Antonio Brown, that he should have slowed his roll when leaving the NFL. He should have waited for them to tell him to go away instead of stripping and walking off the field with Tampa Bay. Okay, notable players not at mandatory minicamp. TJ Watt with the Steelers, who we've talked about. Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals. Also, Shamar Stewart walked out. If they can get, right, with Demetrius Knight, Trey Hendrickson, and Shamar Stewart, if they can get some of that worked out, Bengals are really going to be trouble. I think they're going to be trouble as it is just offensively, and they'll lose a lot of shootouts. But they got to get this stuff figured out. They just have to. And I understand the Stewart thing is language. I'm not a fan of Stewart. He better play great. I'm not a fan of him. Taxkins, Terry McLaurin, who's looking for a DK Metcalf kind of deal between 90 to 100 rocks. I like Terry McLaurin. I wouldn't give DK Metcalf the money the Steelers gave him, but I might give that to Terry McLaurin. The Taxkins got to think about some of the things here because you want McLaurin. You brought in Deebo Samuel, who's right? You can just tell that by the way he dresses. And you want Terry McLaurin. Jaden Daniels probably wants Terry McLaurin. And I laugh my head off when I hear about the 49ers trading Brandon Ayuk for Terry McLaurin, or the Steelers giving up a first-round pick for Terry McLaurin. Not that he's not worth more than that and all that kind of stuff, but why? Why would the Taxkins take a step back when they're this close, especially, I think, with the Eagles primed for a step back? And then, of course, the Dolphins. Jalen Ramsey has been formally excused from attending mandatory minicamp, which means, yeah, he's on the block. This move by the Rams today, maybe instead of giving more capital to them, they'll agree to eat more of the contract, which I'm happy spending Stan Kroenke's money. Anytime, Stan, anytime you want me to spend your money, I'm happy to spend more of that money, save the draft capital, because you never know what you can find in the 5th round, right? Give them a 7th, give them a 6th, but save the draft capital, eat more of the contract. 3 to 4, 3.4, 3.5 rocks were saved by putting Derion Kendrick in the street. So also with Miami, and this is the other thing I haven't really hit on, besides Ramsey, tight end Jonnu Smith is holding out. And there's just things there in Miami that don't feel right? Something optically. I'm not saying it's Tua's fault. I'm not all in on Mike McDaniel, the Wonder Kid. He's kind of like Ryan from The Office a little bit. That's who he reminds me of. I'm ready for him to start woof.com, or something. And so I'm not sure what's going to go on there. Let me look at some questions that have rolled in real quick. Let's see. Slim Hansen. Thank you, Slim. I hope you'll like and subscribe if you haven't already. Joe, do you remember Jim Youngblood? Yeah. Was it Tennessee Tech or Tennessee State? I think it was Tennessee Tech. Hard to believe he wasn't related to Jack Youngblood. I thought he looked like Jack Youngblood. Jim Youngblood was great. Second-round pick, 1973. He was a second-round pick, and I think Bertelsen was the second-round pick. Those were the 2 second-round picks. And another one the Rams got, I'd have to look it up real quick here, for Deacon Jones going to the Chargers. And the Rams got Jim Bertelsen, and I take that back. I think the Jim Youngblood trade that got the draft pick was the Willie Ellison deal. I think it was the Willie Ellison deal prior to the 73 season that netted the Rams Jim Youngblood and Eddie McMillan. And that was another great Don Klosterman Hall of Fame deal. And but Jim Youngblood was great. I love Jim Youngblood. And Youngblood had to really fight his way in. there was a guy after Ken Geddes was there and held that down for 73 through 75. But after Ken Geddes was given up in the expansion draft to Seattle, the plan was Rick Kay, who had been an undrafted free agent, good-looking dude, but he couldn't stay healthy. And then Youngblood came in, and then it was Youngblood, Robertson, and Reynolds. And in 77, the Rams drafted Brzezinski, and that was really weird because within half a season, a year, Brzezinski replaced Isaiah Robertson, which, born in a different place, a different time, on another team. Isaiah Robertson was a Hall of Fame talent. Rams make a couple of Super Bowl appearances. He's a guy, along with Larry Brooks, that gets a little more or would get some Hall of Fame consideration. But yes, I do remember Jim Youngblood. USA Expat, Ram socks in the background. Okay, note, Ram socks in the background. I wore those through the playoffs in 21 and then retired them, have not worn them or washed them since. So they just got that good mojo. And if the Rams go back to a Super Bowl, it's going to be a dilemma. Maybe I'll let you guys decide if I'm going to put them on again. But they carry the stench of Super Bowl 56, and that's going to remain there. I kind of use a version of them in Game Day in the RamCave that the main characters get a pair of socks signed by Marshall Falk, and they're called the Marshalls. So there's another reason. Thanks for taking notice there, USA Expat. USA Expat, Magic could also rebound then immediately and start showtime. Yeah, the guy that really got the conversation started about triple-double, Magic Johnson. Let's see. Tim Burns, Magic could be anything they wanted. They called out his free throws, and he went to 90%, led the league. My hero. Absolutely, absolutely. And he could shoot the three. By the end of his career, he was a really good shooter. He got better every year. These guys, they don't know how to grind. They're soft, man. They're soft. And, Magic Johnson, to me, I'm starting a team. He's the first player I'm taking. He just is, because he's going to make everybody better. Kind of not saying he's him, but kind of like Tyrese Halliburton. Remember, these playoffs started, Cat's going to be the face of the league. SGA is going to be the face of the league. And then it's like, whoa, what if the Pacers win this? And the guy nobody expected, Tyrese Halliburton, is the star of the NBA finals, right? He is not going to say the face, but he becomes something pretty special. Let's see. Question, Pastor Joe, why don't you have a Bible channel on YouTube? You do have a platform. The fields are white and ripe. Well, I do my Burbank Faith virtual channel. I post there almost every day. Monday through Friday, I do a 10 to 12 minute devotional, and Friday is topic day. I do a 10 to 12 minute devotional that I load up on to YouTube when it's done, and then I preach live on Sunday morning at 8:30. It would be hard to do a show like this with this, because, man, there's prep time and then there's answering questions. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but when I prepared this show was prepared to go 30 minutes. That's what it used to be all the time. But you guys joined the party, and I love interacting with you guys. And that's how come we go 50 minutes every week. Thank you, Michael Negretti, for asking, though. Yes, the fields are very ripe for work like that. USA Expat, Ramsey needs to spend time working out with Aaron Donald. Yeah. Hey, I'm hoping that Ramsey comes and Aaron Donald says, yeah, why not, man? I'll tag along for the ride, right? Get 15 snaps, 10 snaps out of Aaron Donald. That would be great. Tim Burns, still calling OKC in 6. Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but you'll have to change your tune if something happens tonight. USA Expat, with Magic, the games were always in the fridge with the butter jiggling and the jello jiggling and the butter getting hard. When Chick Hearn started that, he just said, all he used to say was, this game's in the refrigerator. That goes back to mid 70s, early 70s when I first started listening, and Erickson hits 2 free throws and this game's in the refrigerator. And it was only like late in the 80s and then through the 90s, you got the whole a little more gimmicky, This game is in the refrigerator. The door is closed. The Jello's jiggling and the butter's getting hard, right? So there we go. Bill, wouldn't it be nice if the Rams free up that $3 million to sign Aaron Donald to a 1-year contract? Well, I would say with Aaron Donald, man, Aaron, come back for the veterans minimum, right? Get that second ring, right? Get one for the other hand. I think this would be the last rodeo for Aaron Donald. You can't miss 2 years, but every day that ticks closer. Mini camp and stuff. He's not just going to show up in August. I think it's a real long shot, but who wouldn't love that to happen? Let's see here. All right.
It was a stone group, my man.
All right. On this date, Rams history, the Rams acquired Rob Carpenter from the Giants for a 6th-round 1987 pick. Anyone remember Rob Carpenter? He was a blocking back for Earl Campbell after being a 3rd-round pick for the Oilers in 77. I think it was out of Miami of Ohio. But he was there. He was a good player. He kind of put Ronnie Coleman on the bench, if you remember Ronnie Coleman, with not the Ronnie Coleman that played basketball at USC, the Ronnie Coleman who was born number 47 with the Oilers, with the Love You Blue teams. Carpenter was great, really good back. He got traded, I think it was for a 3rd rounder from the Oilers to the Giants about a month into the 81 season. Now, the Giants, I said the Chargers. He was traded to the Giants. The Giants had not made the playoffs since probably 62, 61 in those Y.A. Tittle years. And they went on this run in 81 when their defense started coming together. Harry Carson was there, Martin was there, and of course, some guy named Lawrence Taylor was there. You were running Beasley Reese out there. They had a bunch of guys, right? I think Van Pelt was gone, but they had a bunch of guys, and that defense was special. Gary Jeter was there, and Phil Simms was hurt again. They're running Scott Bruner out there, so they didn't have great receivers, and they traded for Rob Carpenter, and Carpenter ended up sparking this team into the playoffs. And in fact, that season he rushed for over 100 yards 4 times. The Giants kind of captured the attention of the country, of the NFL world. 4 times in the regular season, he rushed for 100 yards. He rushed for 161 yards against the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs. I think it was the wild card round. Was it wild card round? Whatever. He beat the Eagles. They beat the Eagles 27-21. He rushed for 161 yards against the defending NFC champion Eagles. And this was, part of my argument yesterday about, hey, you Eagles back-to-back historically, unless you go back to the Steve Van Buren days, the late 1940s, the Eagles don't put together successive seasons historically. And then they lost to the 49ers, who went on to win their first Super Bowl. And he was very he was a major contributor for the Giants up through about 85, got traded to the Rams in June on this day of 86. He only played about 6 games for the Rams. His career was pretty much over. It was his 10th season, and he ended up retiring. But Rob Carpenter, that's really a name forgotten, that he really produced for the Giants. And I imagine there's some diehard Giant fans that really, really liked him. Born on this day, former Ram receiver Sean McDonald. He was that next iteration in that wide receiver room after Oz Hakeem left. You had was it Dane Curtis came in, Dane Looker came in, and Sean McDonald, and they were productive. He was productive before he moved on. He turns 44 today. On Sunday, June 15th, Cooper Kupp turns 32. Okay, just again keep that in mind. Cooper Kupp turns 32 tomorrow. Speaking of birthdays, and this is something that's still kind of lingering over from the pandemic. I talked about Byron Young. He's 27 now, but when his next contract comes due, he's going to be in that 29-year-old range. On Monday, Drake Stoops, UDFA, signed last year. Rams kind of liked him. I think he's suspended for 2 games this year because there was a miscommunication on a medicine he took. Played at Oklahoma. Drake Stoops turns 27 on Monday. 27. Yeah. Charles Woods, who was a UDFA who made the team last year, got cut and put on the practice squad. He turns 26 on Tuesday. So there's a lot of these guys, again, coming out of the COVID run that, they spent 17 years in college. Just wanted to throw that out there in case I forget on Monday. All right. Man, I'm glad my dog got out of here. I'm glad you guys stuck with me. Willie Bowen, not happening. Donald is retired. I believe you, Willie. I do. Chris Childers says hope. Tim Burns, a study. As studly as Donald is, he is 40 pounds off game weight. So even if he returned, he would be different, dare I say, too light for his game. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Chris Childers, our left tackle going to be okay for the season. Is our left tackle going to be okay, Chris, are you asking? Or our left tackle is going to be okay for the season? I'm going to keep it positive. Willie Bowen Ferguson will be great working with Higbee. Everything we're hearing about Terrence Ferguson is through the roof. Very positive. Bill, I was watching an old Rams game, had Chris Miller throwing passes to Todd Kitchen, Isaac Bruce, Flipper Anderson, and Hester at wide receiver. Okay, that would have been 94. That would have been 94, just the year before the Rams left, because Miller stayed with the team when they went to St. Louis. Remember, they played in the old Busch Stadium. I think they started the year 3-0 or 4-0 with Rich Brooks before it all collapsed. But the running back on that 94 team was the bus. So yeah, that was a pretty special moment there that had you believing. But that 94 season was so dark because you knew what was coming, and so grateful to have the Rams back. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, thank you for your patience. Thank you for putting up with my pooch. Again, I like dogs, but I'm not one of those guys who walks his dog or picks up after his dog or calls his dogs his babies and all that kind of stuff. I don't mean to be cruel or insensitive. That's just how I'm built. I like the dog, makes my family happy. I don't know what happened. We didn't have an earthquake, at least. Okay, guys, I got to run. Enjoy the championship. No updates. I'm going to watch the game later on tonight. God bless, guys. Take care. We'll see you Monday.